Hi, hello, welcome to Man with a Mentor. I am the host, Matthew Barnard, and you may be wondering what a show called Man with a Mentor may be about. And basically, it's about me talking to the most interesting people I can find and picking their brains to see how they developed the successful career that they have. And I have a great guy here right now. His name is Andre Bennington, which I love to say.
Well, thank you. Nice to meet all of you in YouTube
Oh,
land.
I've turned into a couple of people. Thank you, Andre. Andre Bennington is the Director of Programming and Licensing with Dayton Live, where he oversees booking of rock and urban music, comedy and lecture series, and has delivered results by increasing profitability, expanding the volume and diversity of programs, and curating cohesive and engaging seasons for venues of all types.
Very nice.
So let's go back, because normally I ask people like what they're doing right now, but I just said what you're doing right now. So we'll lead up to that from the very beginning, of your life. Let's go back, because when you wrote your bio literally starts with from the age of 6. Mm-hmm. So tell me what was going on when you were 6.
Yes, so I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and was part of a liberal arts artistic family. And my mom got me involved in playing the violin, Suzuki trained, when I was, I think it was 5 or 6 is when I started.
Oh, gotcha.
And we started off not even on a violin, but on like a Land O'Lakes butter box and a stick, and just like learn the position. And then I finally got my small actual violin later than that, and then started to actually play. So I started then and started using, obviously ear training. Suzuki starts with ear training rather than reading music. Oh. And so they really emphasize that. So a lot of the pieces I started playing early on were just strictly based on ear training. So I learned very early on pitch and obviously tempo, and to kind of phonographically remember music. And it was an amazing time. I mean, I hated practicing, but I learned that it was important. And I was in choir, the Minnesota Youth Symphonies, Minnesota Boys Choir, Metropolitan Boys Choir, toured around the country in, late 80s, early 90s. Wow. And so, I got involved in music at a very young age.
All right. So, and your parents and everybody were supportive.
They were. And my brother did the same. I have a brother named Yasha, who was named after Yasha Heifetz, who's a famous violinist.
All right.
He got the cool name. And he was kind of right along with me doing a lot of this stuff. So we were very involved in music and art from a very young age. And my mom was smart to do that, because we had a lot of energy and needed a lot of creative output, so she knew what she was doing.
Right. Don't you feel like if you don't have a supportive family, it's so difficult to succeed in the arts, unless people are really backing you and supporting you? It's a tough road.
That's a good point, especially if you want to make it your career. There's plenty of people that will tell you, well, you need a quote-unquote real job, right? Or the odds of you making it as a musician or a filmmaker or even the music business are slim. And there may be some truth to that, but what I've learned is the arts industry, is huge, and there's a place for everyone, right? There's a place, right? And be persistent, right? Be persistent. Success may not be millions of dollars, but success is being able to do what you love to do for a living and create art and have it be your lifeblood. And so I look at that as success first, and the money may come, but nothing's better than do what you love to do for a living, right? So that's what I tell people who are interested in getting into music or even filmmaking to an extent, and definitely into venue management and booking and kind of the creative aspect of that too. So.
Right. Now let's move on to more teen and later years, and tell me what Madkid is.
So Madkid, one word, was my DJ name that I used as a drum and bass DJ for about 15 years. And some of you may or may not be familiar with what drum and bass is. It's basically the UK's answer to hip hop, although it's double the tempo. Okay, so in the 90s it got really big. It was in a lot of commercials. There's DJs that Ronnie Size and Groove Rider and all these UK Andy C producers really influenced that style of music, and then it kind of made its way to the States in the early 90s. And that's when it found me. Right. And so I was in high school, and I had friends that were, into sports and kind of more traditional extracurricular activities. But I found the underground music industry, the rave scene and the club scene in the mid 90s, early to mid 90s, and like this was not the EDM commercialized music of today. Even though nothing against that, but like there was no Electric Daisy Carnival, right? There was underground warehouse parties, some commercial clubbing, but like we're talking like the origins of house music and techno and drum and bass and ambient and all these forms had kind of taken off in the UK, but we're just starting to kind of develop in the underground here. So Chicago, Detroit, all of those different places fostered that. And Minneapolis was its own little microcosm of the underground. Right. I remember I went to my first rave and I was like, what is this world? Like, what is this world? Like, you can't really see the performer at the time. It was just like a wall of speakers. And it was in some warehouse that they, I'm not going to say broke into, but maybe did. And different. It
was
genres.
Legit. It was. Yeah. It was, no laws were broken.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe the first one was legit. I know it was way out in the boonies, a huge warehouse. Anyway, so I started attending, and then I just remember at one point it was like, I'm going to create this music and I'm going to perform this music. And
explain to me though, like how someone went from boys choirs and the violin to the like. Was the family like, what's happening to you?
My mom may not admit it, but probably. And creativity, if it's in you, is in you, and it will take different forms of expression, right? Like, I haven't met an artist who hasn't been influenced or explored other genres of music, right? Sure. Like, they may work in one genre as their livelihood, but like, I'm a really porous person, and what I mean by that is I'm a creative, so I'm highly influenced by my surroundings artistically, and I'm also really perceptive to people, and so that's a blessing and a curse at the same time, right? So anyway,
does it leave you a little scattered, like, or is it better to be? Some people are so focused on one thing that they succeed because they're like a niche. Performer or whatever, and they just learn everything about like ragtime from 1926. They're an expert.
So I mean, there's maybe a time, but like I settled on certain genres of music I wanted to focus on, electronic music being one of them. But what happened is, there's multiple genres of this form of music now and then. So I kind of gravitated towards a more aggressive, faster type of music, which is drum and bass, and it's more complex too. And so it's to the point where it's so complex it'll never make it to commercial, just because it's just too complex. And it doesn't have like a straight 4/4 beat. It's a syncopated beat that's faster, and so some people like it, some people don't, but I did, and so I decided to start DJing, and then I just came up with this name, Madkid, one word, and I just started using it as my DJ name, right? And then I started creating mixtapes and started to get some traction in Minneapolis. And I put out a specific mixtape called Midwest Architect in 1996, and it was all kind of party jump-up drum and bass, and it sold really, really well across the country. So we weren't really making CDs at the time, we were making mixtapes. And then that's when things like really started to take off for me. Like I started getting booked regionally, and and then I was out in LA a couple times. I was in Canada a bunch, Austin. You know, I wasn't a superstar, but I had an underground following, right?
Let's talk about LA. It's
Yeah.
so massive, but once you kind of get into like the entertainment scene there, it kind of starts to shrink.
It does, because there's a scene. What I love about LA is that there's a scene for every possible genre of music or art you could want. But to answer your question, when I moved out there because I got accepted to USC's Thornton School of music industry program,
Right.
which someone argues the top program in the country, for two reasons: the curriculum, the connections, but also it's in Los Angeles, right? So
Right.
that was how I got out there, because I kind of reached I wanted a larger market to work in and just to kind of be in. And Minneapolis I'm from Minneapolis, was fantastic. I mean, great art scene. I mean, obviously home of Prince.
Right.
But I was like, I'm going to go to LA. So I got in, and yes, like the first several months, I'm like, this is incredible. This is exactly where I need to be. But then the overpopulation, the cost, obviously. And the other thing I'll say, too, is in LA, inevitably, you could be the most humble person, right? Like legitimately humble. But when you're in LA, it's all about what you do. And that's like almost the first thing that comes out of people's mouths when you talk to them is like, well, what do you do? And it's like, you're always kind of gauging people based on what they do rather than who they are as a person. Now that's most places, but in LA, you're either an actor, you're in a band, you're a DJ, you're a venue man. It's all about what you do.
Yeah.
And
As soon as
so-
someone said they were an actor, though, I
Yeah.
lost interest. I was like, I need to be with the producers.
Yeah.
Or
you're a
I need to
producer
be
or a
with the people that
writer.
have the money and the power.
Yeah,
I was like, you're just an actor.
Yeah.
You could be gone tomorrow.
Or a
Like,
comedian, and everyone,
Right.
and that's cool, but you even start to adopt that a bit, and so you kind of need to deprogram yourself a bit, like if you visit somewhere else.
It's true.
But anyway, so it is where I needed to be at the time, and
Well, let me ask
Yeah.
about like budget
Yeah.
and cost of living
sure,
and all that. Like,
yeah.
what were you kind of pulling in as were people
Mhm.
like saying, we'll give you $20,000 to
Yeah.
spend this night of
Oh, I
whatever?
wish.
How, like,
Yeah.
like, is it lucrative or is it?
Yeah, it
like,
can be. It depends on the kind of events you're doing. By the time I was in LA, I was doing more commercial events, right? Because I was older, I'd kind of left at least the rave scene behind, and so I started doing like private events too. Like I would do club gigs just kind of for fun, but I would do large corporate events. I DJ'd for what I thought was the Princess of Morocco, or it's hard to remember, but it was way up in the Hollywood Hills, and it was like a private event. And I get anywhere from, I charge $500 an hour, so I maybe pull $2,500 out of a night, which for me at the time was good, and I would do maybe 3-4 gigs a week sometimes. So, but that was to help me through school as well. But
Right.
I was still, I'm not going to say starving artist, but like, it was tough, because I wouldn't always have 4 gigs. Sometimes I'd have no gigs, in a month sometimes. So
Oh, right.
it was weird, but yeah.
When you went to USC, was there like a structure to that? Did that like help? Did that push you in a different direction?
Yeah.
And like, did you kind of think like, I can't be a clubbing DJ or
Yeah.
whatever like
Yeah.
I don't know the terms. I'm not one of the cool kids. But did you think I need to kind of phase maybe this part,
Yeah,
minimize
I
this
did.
and see what was going to happen next? And
Yeah.
what did happen?
Because I've not only been a DJ, but I've been an event promoter and producer, and I was doing that in Minneapolis. I had a show called Inside the Ride. It was a rave in a cave. It was in a cave and and it made it onto MTV News Unfiltered, which they sent us a camera and to record the entire experience. And anyway, so I like producing and promoting events as well, and then I was booking other DJs internationally at the time, so the business part of live events, you know, I was really passionate about too. So I knew going to USC that was going to be part of what I did, and you know, kind of the dreams and desire to be like a producer and promoter. While they had a part in it, I knew I was kind of moving towards the business end of things more than the artistic, and sometimes I wonder if I made the right decision. But anyway, so it's a really rigorous program. I mean, you're doing everything from copyright law to artist management to live music production and promotion. I mean, it really is all facets. And then you have to take your business school classes too. So
Right.
I felt pretty prepared, and then the connections that you make, I mean, obviously, are the meat of it too. I mean, we had professors that used to be, Mark Goldstein used to be a professor, or not professor, but the VP of Business Affairs for CBS Radio, I believe. Mark, I may be getting this wrong, okay? CBS Records.
Oh, right.
And like there's people all over the industry that are from USC that are alums.
Right. Yeah.
So it was the right place for me.
Oh, yeah.
It was a crazy time in my life, but it was the right place for me to be. So
Right. What led for you to decide to leave LA? Like, did opportunities keep coming to you? Like, or did you aggressively go after them? Or were you thinking like, I don't want to be here anymore? Like, what else is out there? Or did something
something happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right out of when I graduated, I started working at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles, which, as an intern, there was a shakeup in the company. I ended up working my way up to general manager, and I mean, we were doing like the Screen Actors Guild Awards, the BET Awards. We're doing the Oscars at one point, Emmy Award. I mean, huge award shows, which was incredible. And then I started to bring in EDM shows, which started, I mean, highly profitable concerts. I mean, I did Bon Iver and The Cure and a bunch of different Arcade Fire. I remember when they were still breaking, we did like 3 nights of them. So, and I was all part of that, like booking their shows. But anyway, so there's a point where, you know, I'm not going to say it was crazy, although it was, but I just felt like it was time for me to just do something a little more tame. And maybe that's the wrong adjective to use, but like, I had been in LA for a while, you know, I wanted to live someplace a little quieter, greener.
Right.
And so anyway.
What part of LA did you live in, just to compare?
I was in Hollywood.
Yeah, I was
on Hollywood Boulevard. On Wilton and Hollywood Boulevard, next to the Henry Fonda Theater.
Right.
Yeah, and then I moved to Silver Lake for a little bit too, in Koreatown. But
right.
I mean, I really loved LA, you know, more than I didn't. But there was something that happened. I got recruited from the Shrine to be a GM at another venue in LA, in Beverly Hills, called the Saban Theater, which is the old Wilshire Theater. And there was a shakeup there, and we all got laid off. And I was actually unemployed for 9 months. And during that time, I ultimately got an offer to move to Fort Collins, Colorado, which is about an hour north of Denver.
Right.
And the GM there was pretty aggressive about bringing me out, and so I moved to Fort Collins. And for any of you who have been to the Front Range, Colorado, it's one of the best places to live in the country. Beautiful. So then I started managing a kind of conference services, private event side of the business, and that's the whole transition. I'm skipping a lot of things, but I wanted kind of a more quiet life at that point. So that's my answer.
All right. Do you like how did you like find these opportunities? Like that's the difficult thing. Like,
sure.
Because like right now, I feel like not that I'm actively looking for a job, but the past few years I've been in and out of actively looking, and I just feel like my resume goes like into some dark pit and never gets seen.
Yeah.
So how do you avoid that? How do you keep your connections going and finding
Great
the next
question.
big gig? And are you like aggressively like out there finding exactly the right person, or how do you avoid the thing that's going like through the shredder?
Yeah. I think that you can't always avoid it, even if you're the most qualified, person. I mean, I was in that. I mean, there was a point I was looking for work, every day and not hearing much back. But part of it is the industry you're in. Like what I do is a fairly specialized skill set, and so when things do open up, you're usually kind of at the top. If you know what you're doing, you're kind of at the top of the heap. But those opportunities don't open up very often. But anyway, what I would do is I'd be, rain or shine, I'm sending out 5 resumes today, rain or shine. I'm not going to do any more than that. I'm not going to do any less than that. And then, because I had been on interviews and made it through almost to the end, obviously as like runner-up candidate, but I use every opportunity to interview, to interact, to speak publicly in front of people as practice. And just always try to find what is valuable in the experience you're in, right? And so even through rejection, like it's still, even in rejection, like you take stock of what you feel you did right, you ask for feedback. Sometimes interviewers will give you feedback. Not all the time, but, and just like the opportunity to learn how to be nimble and on your feet and travel and be prepared and research the opportunities. So that's all part of this journey, right, when you're looking for work. So that was kind of how I approached things, and it was tough. I mean, in order for me to continue to work in my industry, I've had to move 5 times. I mean, 4 times, 4 or 5 times to different states and cities, and so not everyone has the luxury of doing that or the ability to do that. So,
It's not that well.
For me, I mean, I wasn't married and don't have any children, so I could do that. But it was even tough, for me. So
children ruin everything. No,
well,
no,
my
just
parents
teasing.
didn't think so. Fortunately,
No, they had a couple of you. Let me ask, how did you get to Dayton then? And and what's happening now? And are you loving it or? Well, don't say no.
No, I am. It's been, I mean, I've been accepted with open arms. So after Fort Collins, I moved back home actually to Minneapolis. This is part of the story of how I got to Dayton. And was director of programming for the Ordway Center for the Performing Arts. And then, let's see what happened. Target's corporate headquarters is there, and so is Best Buy and a few other large companies. And they pulled some of their funding from as contributors to the Ordway, and started to focus on STEM as opposed to the arts. And so there was a big chunk of funding that was pulled away, and several people were let go. I was one of them, which was sad, but was on great terms with them. And the CEO at the time actually helped, gave me some time, he kind of helped me connect with other people, although my connections were pretty much established at that point. But the person who recruited me to come out to Dayton was Ty Sutton, who was the previous president and CEO of Dayton Live.
Oh, gotcha. He
had been my boss in Fort Collins.
Oh, gotcha.
So he recruited me out here, and I remember I had an offer I had 2 other offers on either both the West Coast and East Coast, and I turned them down to come to Dayton. And it was really based on Ty's answer to one question. I asked him, I said, hey, I'm going to uproot myself, and actually an opportunity in Minneapolis as well, to stay in Minneapolis, to work for Live Nation. And so anyway, I'm like, Ty, is there a market for commercial concert and comedy programming on a larger scale in Dayton? Because most people are traveling, to Cincinnati or Columbus this is at the time in 2019.
Right.
And before then for like A-list shows. And I was waiting, and he's like, it just takes a lot of cultivation and work. And then I was like, all right, I'm in. So I came because I needed to know that, because if the market isn't there, as you can imagine, like nothing else works. Like there's no, you can't, there needs to be a demand, at least somewhat there,
Right.
before you throw in on this. And so what my charge has been ever since then, even through COVID, is to bring A-list talent to Dayton so people don't have to travel, right? Like to capture those artists and route them to Dayton and to promote Dayton and to sell Dayton as a realistic, profitable, viable options for tours to come to. That's what I do.
Right.
And I have a team that's wonderful and kind of backs me up on that. So it's been I mean, I got to Dayton and did 5 shows and shut down for 18 months because of COVID.
Oh,
so it was like
oh.
been one crazy ride.
Let me ask you about social media. Like, can people find out more information about you or more information about what you're doing with Dayton Live?
Sure.
How would we do that?
Yeah. So DaytonLive.org is, I'm a broken record. I say that that URL all the time, but that lists all of our shows, and we've got a huge palette of shows. I don't do the Broadway programming. But that certainly is like a massive part of what we do.
Right.
But I do most of the other programming, maybe with the exception of some of the children's programming. But, comedy, live comedians and comedic shows, all genres of music, lecture series, music, movies set to live symphony. The website's always the best place to go. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited that you came here and told your story of how you went from playing the violin to spinning records. Well, that's not right. Like, you didn't scratch and all that. Like,
I did.
Did you?
I can beat, juggle, and scratch still, and beat match, of course. See, when I talk about DJing, I'm talking about DJing with records and a mixer and like the tactile motion of mixing. I'm not talking about sitting up there with the laptop and hitting play and having like a pre-recorded set. This is old Andre, bitter DJ Andre talking here. But back then it was different. But yeah, it's been, if you understand, music composition, like how a track is laid out, both in terms of like bars and measures and, all the components of putting together a track together, like, and you understand composition, like that runs its way through all music. Right. And so I find a lot of times that the best producers of music are classically trained, even if they don't remain in the classical genre.
Right.
Like they take that with them through production and through mix down, and it's all really important, right? So
thank you, Andre, and thank you for listening or watching another episode of A Man with a Mentor. Thanks. Bye.